2 o'clock, and our meeting is scheduled for 2 o'clock, so we can start. But before we start, Shumis, are we a quorum?
Yes, Chair, we are.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Matlodi Maseko. I am the Standing Committee in Infrastructure, and I do have committee members also that are with me today, and also I just want to welcome each and everyone for the engagement of today. But before we start, I'm going to ask the members just for the record to introduce themselves, and also all our guests that are with us. And before they come in, just to thank the officials from National for just affording us time today within a short period of time that we requested that they come to brief us about the Housing Consumer Protection Bill. And I don't know, I think Shumis, if you can help me, we do have Ms. Ndudani, that is here, maybe she's the one that was going to do the presentation, and we do have also Mr. Manele and Mr. Badenhorst from the NCOP, but I think they will introduce themselves as we do the introductions just for the record purpose. So I'm going to ask the members to introduce themselves, please.
Good afternoon, Chair. Kayla Murray, member of this committee.
Afternoon, Chairperson, and afternoon, officials. Sean August, member of the committee.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Afternoon, Chair, afternoon, members, and afternoon, everyone on the platform. Isaac Mbulelo Sileku, member of the committee. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair, and everyone present. Pat Paran, alternate member of this committee.
Good afternoon, Chair. Everyone else, Rikus Badenhorst. I'm in the NCOP, where I'm, amongst others, member of the Select Committee, Cooperative Governance, Traditional Affairs, Waters and Sanitation, and Human Settlements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If I can get also the officials to introduce themselves that are with us, I'll appreciate that.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, and good afternoon, members and colleagues. My name is Sindisiwe Ngongo from the National Department of Human Settlements. I'm Acting Director General. I'm accompanied by the Head of Legal Services, Mr. Masimola, sorry, Chairperson, who is also sitting with our colleagues from the NHBRC. They will quickly introduce themselves. If I may, Chairperson, that we are presenting the Housing Consumer Protection Bill 2021, which seeks to repeal the Housing Consumer Protection Measures Act 95 of 1998. And this has come after an assessment that the current piece of legislation had gaps, which we are seeking to close as a sector going forward. And at the center of the bill that we will be presenting, we have put the protection of the consumers at the center of the bill, so that they can benefit more in terms of protection. We will highlight on our presentation in terms of what has changed from the current legislation, those areas of enhancement, and then the new enhancements in terms of the bill. With your permission, Chairperson, may I ask Mr. Masimola to introduce himself and the colleagues from NHBRC that are sitting with him?
Yes, that will be in order.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson. and the acting DG. My name is Paul Masemola. I'm with colleagues from NHBRC. I would ask Natasha Foche to introduce them. But I also have Judge Moore from legal department, legal unit of the department. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. I am Natasha Foche and I'm from the NHBRC's legal department. With me, I have Ms. Nkadisha Rasibotsa as well as Mr. Stefan Janser, who's the Acting Executive for Customer Experience and Business Services. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I am not going to waste any time, and I don't know if there's anyone who wants to introduce that maybe I missed. Want to introduce themselves? I'm going to take that we know each other. Okay. Morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair.
A very
Good
afternoon,
Chair and members. My name is Boisani Moss. I'm from the National Department of Human Settlements. I'm part of the acting teachers team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that didn't introduce themselves?
Afternoon, Chairperson. My name is Romeo Master. I'm the legal advisor for Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I see Mayor Kambala. Masiko Kambala, you can talk to me.
Good afternoon, ma'am and members. I'm Pamela Masiko Kambala from now the Department of Infrastructure. I also want to send in an apology for the HOD, Gush. She couldn't make it today.
Thank you very much. Any other official from the Provincial Department of Infrastructure besides you?
Good afternoon, Chairperson and members. Vuyolo Tunjalo, and I head up Provincial Minister Tesha Sima's office. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Njalo. Any other one?
Good afternoon, Chair. Kaya from Public Education and Outreach. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair. Matthijs Odendaal, Communications, WCPP.
Thank you. Okay. I think it's all of us. Those that didn't introduce themselves, as we continue, then they will introduce themselves. I'm not going to waste any time, members. As I indicated when we did start that the engagement for today, as per the agenda that you received, is about the Housing Consumer Protection Bill. And we are going to be briefed by, is it Ms. Ngongo or is there anyone? I will take a lead from the National Department who's going to brief us about the bill.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Our Head of Legal Services, Mr. Paul Masemola, will lead us on the presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Masemola, over to you, sir. We are all ears.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairperson and honorable members. The presentation is on the object of the Consumer Protection Bill. The presentation will cover the purpose of the bill, summary of the provisions of the bill, economic, employment and infrastructure development, and finally the implications for the provinces. It's to brief the Portfolio Committee on the object of the Housing Consumer Protection Bill. The purpose, the Housing Consumer Protection Bill 2021 seeks to repeal the Housing Consumers Protection Measures Act of 1998, which henceforth I'll be calling it an act. The act came into effect on the 4th of June 1999 and has been amended 3 times by the Housing Consumers Protection Measures Amendment Act of 1999 the Housing Amendment Act of 2001 and the Housing Consumers Protection Measures Amendment Act of 2007. Both the Department of Human Settlements and the National Home Builders Regulation Council have identified certain challenges with the key provisions of the Act, which impact negatively on the efficient execution of the Council's mandate. As a result, they needed this review. The bill seeks to ensure adequate protection of housing consumers and effective regulation of the home building industry by inter alia strengthening the regulatory mechanism, strengthening the protection of the housing consumers, introducing effective enforcement mechanism, and prescribing appropriate penalties or sanctions to deter non-compliance by home builders. The bill makes provision for the reimbursement of a housing consumer, which may be deducted from an administrative fine paid by the home builder for loss incurred. It further seeks to address economic transformation of the industry through the introduction of provisions relating to the warranty fund surplus, which may be utilized towards human settlements developmental programs for the home builders. The bill seeks to create enabling environment for new entrants into the home building industry through the introduction of contractual provisions that ensures their sustainability in the market. The bill seeks further to align and create synergy with other relevant pieces of legislation such as PFMA and PAJA. In the summary of the provisions of the bill, Chapter 1 of the bill provides for the definitions, the application of the Act, and the application of the Public Finance Management Act to the Council. The bill makes provisions for, inter alia, the definition of build to expand the protection afforded to housing consumers by including repairs, renovations, alterations, and additions to an existing home under the Council's regulatory regime, as well as the conversion of buildings from commercial to residential. The scope of the application of the bill is extended to include not only builders who undertake home building as business, but also owner builders. Owner builders are included in the definition of the home builder and are required to register with the Council. This means the homeowner who built his own house. The definition of a home has been expanded to ensure regulation of the full spectrum of the housing market and provide protection to housing consumers who are not protected under the current Act, such as hostels, mixed-use residences, timeshares, share blocks, but exclude a hotel, motel, a shed, or any dwelling unit without its own bathroom and kitchen. The bill provides for an exemption by minister of a person or a home in exceptional circumstances and in public interest, where the exemption is not contrary to the objectives of the bill. Chapter 2 of the bill seeks to provide for the continuation of the Council established in terms of Section 2 of the current Act as a juristic person to be known as National Home Building Regulatory Council. The bill specifically makes a distinction between Council as a juristic person and an executive authority, being that the one that is empowered to deal with oversight, which is the board. It further provides for the objectives of Council and governing structures of the Council. The bill specifies knowledge and experience required in the composition of the board. Persons with town planning and property development expertise have been added. The bill proposes the appointment of the CEO and CFO by the board. The current Act makes provision for Council to appoint the CEO and for the latter to appoint all other members of the staff which then includes the CFO. Chapter 3 seeks to provide for the registration of home builders and developers, the establishment of a register of home builders, the requirements for the registration, suspension of registration, and the council's decision may be taken on a review in terms of budget when the home builder is not satisfied with the decisions of council. Grading of home builders and liability of an unregistered home builders or developer. The jurisdiction of the council is extended to unregistered home builders. The bill provides for an integrated database with grading requirements. Chapter 4 of the bill seeks to provide for the establishment of a register of enrollment, the enrollment of a home prior to the commencement of its construction by home builder, the consequences of failure to enroll a home, duties in respect of a subsidy housing project, and the consequences of a failure by a member of the executive council or member of mayoral committee responsible for human settlements, or the head of department or municipal manager, a social housing institution or subsidy housing delivery agent to comply with the provisions of the Act. Chapter 5 of the bill provides for the funds of the council, the home warranty fund, with an additional funding through the monies appropriated by Parliament as the council's regulatory mandate is of a public function. Management of funds, the fees of council, the warranty cover commencing from the date of construction, and the roof leakage, which extends from 12 months to 24 months. The maximum and minimum amount payable from the warranty fund and claims and limitations. Chapter 6 of the bill seeks to prohibit the procurement of services to build a home, which forms part of the subsidy housing project, from a home builder who is not registered with the council, lies on a home that was not enrolled with the council in his or her tender submission, who previously failed to rectify or complete the rectification of structural defects as directed by the council without reasonable grounds, or who fails to disclose any information prescribed by the Minister of Human Settlements. Chapter 7 of the bill seeks to provide for the enforcement of the provisions of the bill once enacted. It further seeks to provide for the appointment of and duties of the inspectors, the establishment and powers of the Compliance and Enforcement Committee, matters relating to the administrative and substantive compliance and related penalties, which penalties may include the 10% of the project value, 100% of remedial cost expanded by the council, the minimum fine of 1 million. And in the current act, the minimum fine would be the 25,000, which we have noticed that major developers or companies would not feel the pinch when they are fined 25,000. They would nevertheless continue to have non-compliance on their part. The bill further seeks to provide for an alternative dispute resolution, criminal offences and sanctions. The bill prohibits certain conduct and imposes duties on inspectors, employees of council, and members of compliance and enforcement committee to combat issues related to corruption, bribery, and conflict of interest. There is a provision for criminal offences in respect of disclosure of unauthorized disclosure of personal or confidential information. The inspectors and employees investigating criminal offences in terms of the bill will have been given powers of a peace officer as defined in the Section 1, right, with Section 334 of Criminal Procedure Act of 1977. The bill provides an accountability mechanism for competent persons, such as geotechnical engineers, architects, and structural engineers in respect of willful conduct or gross negligence, which comprises the structural integrity, compromises the structural integrity of a home. That competent person will be liable for such conduct and will be enforced in terms of the bill. The current act has no provision governing non-compliance by competent persons except for implied recourse through the professional indemnity insurance. Chapter 8 of the bill seeks to provide for various matters, including home building manual, the making of rules by council and of regulations by minister, the recovery of fees, vicarious liability, the personal liability of the members, directors, trustees of a home builder, duties of estate agent, financial institutions, conveyancers, the codes of conduct for council members, home builders, developers, and other industry role players. It further provides for transitional matters on economic and employment and infrastructure development. The bill seeks to provide for warranty fund surplus to be utilized towards transformative human settlement developmental programs which facilitate growth, skills development, and economic transformation in the building industry. It seeks to provide emerging home builders greater access and protection through equitable registration requirements, a grading system, the regulation of certain contractual matters, and continuous development and training. A further inclusion of provisions covering contractual matters between home builders, developers, and employers are intended to contribute to a sustainability of emerging home builders and to the growth of the home building industry. The implications for the province and the national government have concurrent jurisdiction in the matters that the bill seeks to address. As a result, the bill is dealt with in terms of Section 76 of the Constitution. Honorable Chair, in addition, just to add on some of the changes, just to put them clearly, the current Act does not provide for what does the day mean, and the bill indicates that the day means calendar days, so that it's easy for consumers to know and also to realize that from the 16th of December to the 15th of January, including Saturdays and Sundays and public holidays are not included. The bill also, or rather the current Act, has an exemption of the home builder. But in the current Act, the owner builder has no exemption. They also have to register their homes when they build. Because the intention is to protect everyone. That's why they are included in the current bill. The current bill, or rather the current Act, does not give any specific reference to town planning and property development people to be included in the board or council. But in the bill, it says specifically requires that persons with town planning and property development expertise be added. The current Act does not specify specifically make distinction between council as a juristic person and as an executive authority. And in the current bill, or rather in the bill, there is a distinction of the two. As I've mentioned, the one of the CEO and the CFO, they are now all being, in the bill, they will be appointed by the board. The Act makes no provision for the appropriation of funds from Parliament. And in the current bill, it is suggested that some of the funding will come from the Parliament appropriation. which will then assist with the extended mandate that the NHBRC will be having. The current Act makes no provision for a home builder's liability for an alternative accommodation for housing consumer where required. And in the current bill, the Act makes provision for builders' liability for cost of alternative accommodation for the housing consumer where required. In the current Act, there's a disciplinary committee which is part of the council, and the its term of office is aligned with the council. But the bill proposes the creation of a compliance and enforcement committee, which has its term and is different from the council, and its term will be 4 years. The fines in the current Act, which, as I've indicated, it's around 25,000 maximum. You would have warnings and withdrawal of registration only. But in the current, or rather proposed bill, it's suggested that it can be 10,000 of the project value, 100% of remedial cost as expanded, with a minimum of 1 million. The enforcement committee can also make an alternative or other appropriate relief, which may not be higher as is shown here. The current Act also makes provision for only provision for the appointment of inspectors. Their powers to enter and inspect the premises and powers to request specific documents. So in the current bill proposed, they impose the positive duties on the inspector to determine compliance with the Act and the home building manual. The bill provides clarity on the inspector's function, conflict of interest, and addresses corrupt-related matters. There is a provision for the criminal offences in respect of the disclosure of unauthorized disclosure of personal or confidential information. The current Act makes no provision governing non-compliance by competent persons, except for implied recourse through professional indemnity, as I've indicated earlier. The bill also included, or rather emphasizes the role of the MEC and MMCs of the oversight responsibility, but also put the responsibility on the HOD and the municipal manager to not release the funds on subsidy project when the Act is not being complied with. Thank you. I will ask my colleague Natasha to perhaps indicate the changes that were effected when the bill was at Portfolio Committee and National Assembly, so that at least you are able to note the changes that have been made at the time. Thanks through you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Natasha. You can go on.
Thank you, Chairperson. Following the public hearings that was undertaken by the Portfolio Committee, the committee made certain amendments to the bill. There was only, or let me say in summary, there was only one major change that was made, and then several minor changes that related to the either omission of words or insertion of words or definitions that were then subsequently included. Clause 39 was rejected by the Portfolio Committee. That particular clause related to the establishment of an NPC, which the committee at the time indicated that that particular clause was not mandatory. Further, they were of the view that if the need arose, that particular section can then be better placed through regulations. I will now be taking the committee through clause by clause. In terms of clause 1, the following definitions were inserted, which was head of department, which means the head of the department responsible for human settlements in a province, as well as municipal manager, which means a person appointed in terms of Section 82 of the Local Government Municipal Structures Act. Chairperson, the second amendment that was made was in relation to clause 2, that relates to exemptions that can be granted by the minister. However, those exemptions must be granted in consultation with the NHBRC. In respect of clause 7, that relates to if there is a vacancy or opening in the board, that particular vacancy must be replaced within a certain period. Clause 11 relates to the meetings of the board, and the committee felt that it should be included that a minimum of 4 meetings must be held annually. Clause 15, Chairperson, relates to the appointment of the CEO and the CFO. The committee felt that when the board makes such an appointment, that it must be done in terms of a job evaluation system that has been approved by the board. Clause 16 relates to the reappointment of the CEO or the CFO, and the committee felt that if the CEO or CFO is reappointed, it can only be done for 1 additional term. Clause 32 relates to the duties in respect of subsidy projects. The definitions that I have alluded to earlier indicates that a head of a department or municipal manager or his or her delegate may not release any funds in relation to any housing project unless the requirements of this act have been met in relation to that project. As I said earlier, clause 39 has been rejected. Clause 40 relates to the fees of council. The committee omitted the word enrollments and indicated that there should be different categories of fees should be applicable based on a home builder's grading. Clause 41 relates to the adjustment of the warranty fund or the extension of the warranty fund that the minister can make provision for through publication in the Government Gazette. And if the warranty has then been extended, that the enrollment fees be adjusted proportionally. Clause 88 makes provision for rules to be drafted by the council, and the rules that can be provided by the council relates to, for example, your code of conduct for home builders, as well as the manner in which documents may be served in respect of any proceedings against home builders. Chairperson, that in summary would then be all the amendments that was effected by the Portfolio Committee. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Chairperson. That is our presentation. We request that the Portfolio Committee note the object of the Housing Consumer Protection. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, and we really appreciate the presentation. Honorable members, I'm going to open up for the questions, but before that, is there any comment maybe that one of our colleagues from the NCOP would want to contribute or highlight to us?
Chair, thank you very much. I've just noted that the presentation we got sent prior to this meeting is not exactly the same as the one that was presented in the meeting. So I'd appreciate if we can get a copy of the actual presentation that was made in the meeting. I joined the NCOP before this bill was deliberated there. So I'm just going to observe for the rest of the meeting, if you don't mind, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. that I don't mind, and I will ask Shumis. I think Shumis noted, our procedural officer noted that we'll make sure that you get the presentation. I see only the hand of Member Murray.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my first question is whether the department or related entities have briefed other legislatures, and if so, what are the details? My next question is whether any public participation has taken place, and if there were challenges identified, what were they? And what is the expected way forward in terms of the bill, particularly at the legislative level? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question, members? I don't see any. Isaac Seleko, I recognize you, sir.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Afternoon.
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much for the presentation. And I just wanted to latch on to the question that the only omission in terms of clauses was clause 39, which the whole committee agree on that they should actually they did not agree on that one. So now when they deliberated on this particular bill as the House before it was sent to the NCOP, was there any concerns from some members of the particular committee, or was when they dealt with the bill, was the bill agreed on unanimously in the committee? And yeah, I just wanted to know if there was any concerns on top of clause 39 that we should be made aware of. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Maybe if I can lash to what you are asking, if we can get the clarity of the intention for the clause 39 before it was rejected. What is it that it was trying to fix? And it now being that the committee felt that if it's not mandatory, and then it can be a regulation to this bill. What are the ripple effects of it now being rejected versus the intention of it being in the bill itself when it was introduced in the parliament? I think that's the only question for me, and I don't see any other hand. I don't know who's going to take the question and give the response to us. Ms. Ngongo, is it you who's going to? Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will ask Head of Legal Services to start, and then any additions from NHBRC, I will come at the end, Chairperson. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chairperson. Indeed, there were public hearings that were held. I think it's around 27 districts, municipalities. There would have been concerns that were raised, but I think we managed to deal with them in those meetings and later on the portfolio committees, and quite a number of them would have been resolved. That's why the bill ended up being approved at the National Assembly. That's what would have been on our understanding. Thanks. I will allow Natasha to deal with the issues relating to the NPO, what was the intention around it, and whether it was negatively affected the bill or what, if it's passed in its current form. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairperson. In respect of clause 39, the provision provided for the establishment of a non-profit company for purposes of risk-based insurance offerings in relation to the structural integrity of the home. Chairperson, this would have been after the lapse of the warranty, if there was a need or a housing consumer wanting to extend their particular warranty. Some of the discussions, in respect of that particular section that was held, was to say that, if this particular section or clause had to be remain, it would result, that the NHBRC would be, venturing into the insurance market, Chairperson, and for those reasons, it was then rejected by the committee. I'm not sure, Chairperson, if our acting DG would like to add further to that, Chairperson.
Thank you. We can go on.
Just give us 1 second, if you allow, Chairperson, with your permission, if we can just have 1 second.
You've got 2.
Much appreciated, Chairperson.
Okay.
Is it my turn, Chairperson?
No, I think the DG requested a second or 2 seconds, but I think requested 1, I gave 2, and then now we're on the 4 seconds. I think your 10. What it will be.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson. I think that we touched on what we had done, where we're coming from. The public participation, we did it as a department just before COVID, up until just before COVID. And in terms of the legislatures, that process started today, where we did Gauteng, and we did, why am I forgetting the one that we did today? Mpumalanga, was it Mpumalanga? And then we are now doing the Western Cape. It's only 3. My apologies, Chairperson. We only started with the legislatures only today. And then the process that is going forward, then it's going to be the process of the provincial legislatures, where you're going to take your processes to the provinces. Then you will get all the feedbacks, which will then also assist to enhance the bill. Also on all the public participations, all the comments were included, including the public participation that was done by the National Assembly. All the comments were included. And what has just also happened is that the same bill also has served in the National Assembly, where also it was supported. So now we are left with the provinces, which is this process, Chairperson. We will also be participating with you in your provinces, national department and NHBRC going forward. And then take into account the comments. You will deliberate on your processes as we are moving forward. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ngono. Any other questions, members? I don't see any hand raised. Thank you very much. Member Selego?
My apologies, Chair. Chair, I would like just the department to elaborate more in terms of when they speak about oversight, specifically given to the MMCs and the MEC. And also in terms of what they are saying, that the accounting officer, which is the MM, will be the one that will be signing off in terms of funding, if I heard correctly. So how are they going to make sure that whatever is envisaged in this particular bill is going to be like that? Knowing the history in terms of local government, as you know, especially coming to the releasing of funds, or as they were saying, by the municipal manager, because some of the municipal managers are actually intimidated by their political principles. So what measures are in place to make sure that whatever they want to seek to achieve in terms of this particular bill will be achieved, to making sure that there is no intimidations in terms of people that are supposed to make sure that whatever is envisaged in this particular bill will be done. Because what we tend to find is that a bill has good intentions, but the policing of this particular bill, of monitoring of what is supposed to be done by this particular bill, seems not to happen on the ground. What measures are there to make sure, especially local government, whatever is supposed to be done will be done? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? That's the only question.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Masemola, may you respond? Thank you.
Thank you. In the bill, we provided that where the council becomes aware of the MMCs who has failed to comply with the provisions of this act in relation to appointing only registered home builders, or ensuring that every home forming part of the subsidy housing or social housing project is enrolled, the council must, subject to subsection 2, report that failure to the minister. So surely what is more important is just to report this to the minister, then they are then able to take it forward. I may not be able to engage on the issues of the threats and so on, but I take it that if it's not reported, that's where the problem is. But if it's reported to the minister or rather to the council, then the council will take it up with the minister. That's how at least they will get comfort that they will not be victimized. That's the take that I can put on it.
Thank you very much. Member Silako, does that?
Chair, thank you very much. Chair, what the response is actually saying, if our councils fail to fulfill their oversight role and report issues, there is nothing we can do. So we are still going to be confronted with houses that are not up to standard, with projects that are not complete, and so that's what it's actually saying. So there are no measures to make sure that issues must be reported, because that's what I'm getting. So it's up to council. So if council fails to report, there is nothing that the bill can do. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Masemola, that is the interpretation of Member Seleku. Do you agree with it?
No. We do have inspectors on this homes. So you have a variety of ways that the information can come, but it is an expectation that anybody who knows this information should actually report it. And obviously, it will not be within the NHBRC to be able to get all this information, except to also get extra information from all people, or even the council members, if they know about this kind of a situation, so that there is an intervention. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think the concern and I hear the clarity from you, Mr. Masemola, but I think the concern that Member Selegu has, it talks to the past reality. And then I think he wants to make sure that at least this bill, when we take it for the public hearings also, it will also make sense to our stakeholders in the building industry. And I can make an example of NHBRC. I think they know about the issue of the Volvedans housing project that has been a very interesting case study. So if we have a bill like this and we feel it has to be to empower the oversight responsibility, whether being the municipal manager, the MMC, or the MECs, it has also, the screws has been tightened to make sure that we don't get the same case like of the Volvo dance, because it still continues. And I think it's more than 15 years that issue's been on our doorstep and still dealing with it, of which maybe this year it will be the last financial year that they deal with it to correct the houses that have been built. NHBRC, when they are engineers, they are inspectors, the municipality one, the department one, that. So somewhere, somehow there is a loophole that we, in the past, was not identified. And we tend to believe that maybe this bill will help for that oversight responsibility also to the accounting officers to make sure that that doesn't happen, something doesn't happen like that, because it's costly to the government. So I just hope that that will be the case. And I hope that with what is in front of us, it don't be a mess as we have seen it in Volgotans. I don't see Member Selegu still raising a hand. I tend to believe that he will make his comments in this submissions through the committee also. Member Selegu, am I talking on your behalf, representing you well, or do you still want to?
No, self-appointed
mention
chair,
this?
self-appointed spokesperson, I will give you that due for now. Thank you very much.
All the time, I got you, say. Thank you very much. I don't see any other hand being raised, and I want to thank the department and our colleagues from NCOP. We always appreciate your presence with us, and from National. I'm going to thank you, triple up, and say now you can start frying, and we will really, like in future, as we see the bills are coming, we'll appreciate seeing you again and again. And where there is a clarity that we need, we will communicate with you. One thing from me that I'm going to request, I think from Ms. Nwango, is to get, if possible, to get where the National went for the public hearings in Western Cape, so that we can maximize if we go out to the public hearings, to make sure that we touch all the areas, that we don't get to be the complaints after we finish with the public hearings, which it will be sort of a wasteful expenditure if we have to return the bill because communities feel that we didn't give them a chance to submit. So we'll appreciate if that information can be sent to Shumis for us to plan accordingly.
We'll do that, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to release you, and so that the committee members and the officials can continue. And the provincial government, thank you very much for officials from the province for being with us today. You can, if you were in the building, I'll say there is a coffee outside. So go and make yourself coffee and pat yourself on the back that you did well for a week so far. If you continue tomorrow, you still are doing well, but have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chairperson. Goodbye.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable members and my favorite officials of WCPP. As you saw on the agenda, we do have, as we know, we do have the expropriation bill, 1. 2, we do have this housing consumer bill. The plan that I propose to the members is that we are going to do the public hearings concurrently for those 2 bills, which it will cut the cost, of which that means we are going to go to the same areas for the bills. I don't know how possible is that, but I believe it's doable. And then it will cut costs, and then it will also, the timelines will be able to really try to squeeze in. So in the meantime, since we met informally, me and Shumis, we communicated with NCOP to request the time, to be given time for the expropriation bill to extend, because the deadline is for the negotiating mandate is for the 14th of June, of which we are going to start with the public hearings on the 26th. of May. So that is going to be problematic a little bit to us. So I have requested that we get an extension. We're still waiting for the response from the NCOP. Shumitz, am I right? We haven't received the response.
That's correct, Chairperson. We haven't received the response yet.
Okay, but that is what we did. And in the meantime, we did the dates. We sort of populated the program with the dates and submitted to the programming authority, to Michaela, to slot that in. And those dates are the ones that we are going to use. So, Miss, is it possible to flag those dates? And whilst you flag those dates, I don't know who's going to talk to how are we going to do things different so that we can adopt the resolution of the program for the legislation of expropriation, of which now is going to be expropriation plus the housing consumer. Mr. Odenda, are you going to be the one?
I can give an input, Chairperson. I think it's a very good idea to link the two, as you said, save time, traveling costs, and I think that was a big challenge. From communication side, I think Kaya will also come in more from the PO side, but from communication side, I think we'll use kind of the same strategy that we do for the bills. Use the website as a central area of departure with all the information, the bills in the different languages and so on. And then we'll support that with a paid for Facebook advertising campaign where we can pinpoint who we like to reach. And then also on our own Facebook and Twitter pages, constant reminder and asking for inputs till the deadline. And all those things are linked then to the website, which makes it then easy to for people to get all the information. Yes, I've got a question for you. We keep the bills separate. In other words, in the processes, we don't ask for inputs together. That's what I want to ask. We keep it separate, not to confuse people.
Yeah.
It's just that your public hearings is going to be on the same day, kind of.
Yeah. So the housing consumer bill, it has specific stakeholders that we will be targeted directly to them. So it's going to be easier, and we'll have to separate so that it doesn't confuse people. Whereas the expropriation bill, the scope is broader than.
I understand.
So we will do it that way. And that's where the PO have to come in. Kaya Letunkunyana, the stage is yours. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. From the PO side, the approach that we have thought of that will assist us in this process. We have already, for example, Chairperson, spoken to the municipalities, specifically the public participation in George, for example. We'll also reach out to Platt and Neisner, and also Hesekwa, Mossel Bay, and we'll also be targeting the over the mountain corridor, your Oudtshoorn and Kanaland. So for us, Chairperson, the approach would be in those specific areas. For example, the plan would be to get maybe a delegation from Platt to travel with the delegation from Neisner to George. We'll also maybe consider bringing people from Hesekwa, Mossel Bay, and then again over the mountain, Oudtshoorn and Kanaland. So that's what we'll be doing in terms of the actual physical attendance. But also, Chair, will be conducting the Tusong centers where they are available for the purposes of putting up notices and making this information available for people who might need copies. So we do have we have a relationship with the Tusong Center managers in the province. They will also assist us, but also our colleagues, at the Department of Local Government, the CDWs will also be helping us with the mobilization. So, Chairperson, the approach would then be, to transport the neighboring towns where we can to the center. So George will look at Knysna, Platt, that's one delegation, Esekwa, Mosselbaai, and of course Oudtshoorn and then Kanaland will come together to George. So maybe I can just pause there, Chairperson, for now.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, I think just for the record purpose, because the last resolution that we took, it was for the 18 public hearings. And after the logistics meeting that we had, that was the informal meeting, we got a suggestion from our officials to give, and then we agreed that they must give us the option of how are we going to go about, because one thing that they talked about the cost and the cost to advertising the public hearing, it was cut off that we cannot get that. We need to target the community printing media houses like your Contray or Westlander or something like that. And also it will be the Facebook, like Mr. Odendaal talked, that how will they go about. And dependency also is going to be from the PO to make sure that they spread the gospel about the expropriation bill, for whether written submission, oral submission. But we need to make sure that we maximize in every step that we take, every decision that we take has to talk to the maximizing submissions. So there, Shemis, thank you very much. Those are the public hearings that I thought we will go about, honorable members. If we can, that is the first scenario. It's one public hearing in each district. So it will be the city, it will be Cape Winelands, Central Karoo District, Garden Road District, Overberg District, West Coast District. So what we are going to do is we are going to look at the central town, that it will be easier for POs, they help with the transport. And also will depend on them that which town did they identify as Kaya Litu was saying, was highlighting, how can they go about. So that has to be quick for them to identify. Otherwise, they will have to take the areas that we identified, myself and Shemis, to say, where is the public hearings going to be? Like in the Overberg, the central place, it will be like your Khalid, and then, people that come from Swellendam, people that come from Cape Agalgas, they are central in Khalid, and your Rabo is there, and your Refursoner end is there. So Caledon makes sense, which if we say it's central for the Overberg district. So we will do something like this. So this is what we talked about, me and Shemis. I hope there's a buy-in from the members. Honorable members, there are the dates and the areas. Member Maran.
Thanks very much, Chair. I'm fully in support. Okay. I can recall, I think it was last week when we have also spoke about the public hearings. You've asked a question to Mr. Stamela. What do you think is a proper public participation process, being considered the budget and the money that we have or the money that we don't have? And he basically make a proposal that if we can at least go to each district, it will regard that as a proper public participation process. So I'm fully in agreement with what you are proposing to us. The issue of one district and then the central towns. I'm fully in agreement with that. And I think, Chair, the towns that you have basically listed there seems to be the central towns. So yeah, for my side, I'm fully in agreement with what you are proposing. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Kayla?
Hi, Chair, I just want to get confirmation. Are we planning to do this over the constituency period? I'm concerned that maybe this isn't the best time to be having public hearings over a constituency period.
Which are the dates that are fall within the constituency, Shumis?
Chairperson, I just need to pull up my document quickly so that I can see. I did write them down, but
Okay, while you pull them out, so Kayla, I do understand about the constituency period, but remember that the legislation it has a life cycle, and we are caught up in, will be caught up in the scenario where we have to go for the public hearings during the constituency period. So I will really ask that your indulgence, honorable members, that you allow us to do those public hearings so that we can just carry our responsibility to carry the mandate of going out there for those public hearings. Because if we shift because of the constituency period, the legislation doesn't recognize that there is a constituency period that we can't continue with the public hearing. It's life cycle, it's a life cycle. And otherwise, we are only one province. We're going to end up not having a negotiating mandate that we can submit because we had a constituency period, and that is not going to look good coming from our legislature. So I don't know. Our legal advisor, but before you say, Member Maran, I see your hand again.
Yes, Chair, I've heard now the question by the Honorable Murray. But that will not be the first time that we do something else within our constituency period. As you have said, for instance, the NCOP is not going to wait for us. I remember the words by the Honorable Saleko when we have met with the national officials in Parliament, when we discussed the expropriation bill. The Honorable Saleko said that if 5 or 6 provinces basically, and they will proceed without us.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the issue of constituency should basically stand in our way to make sure that from the Western Cape there is a mandate, a negotiating mandate. So I hear what you're saying, Chair. I'm not sure what your response is, whether there is, but even so, I'm available. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Member August?
Chairperson, thank you very much. I've got no problem to work during the constituency period. I'd just like to know and ask Shamiz, how do we engage with the other portfolios? Why I'm asking is that on the 22nd or the 23rd, we are flying out to George for another standing committee to have a public participation and flying back early morning the next morning. Is there no possibility there's some collaboration with other portfolios or standing committees so that we don't to and fro? I see the date is not too far. I think it's that Saturday that we're in George. We're probably driving up from the Overberg area. Some of us, we are there in George on that, I think the Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken. I'd just like to know what collaboration is there with other standing committees so that we can fit in and just extend a day. Then we've done George already. I'm there with environmental affairs. I think Honorable Pat Maran would also be there. I think yourself, Chairperson, you were in as an alternate member on in the week. So maybe you can also just come up, then we can proceed the Thursday. So maybe if you can just respond to that, Chairperson, I'll appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, before you continue, I'm wondering if the environmental like Member August say that they are going to fly for the public hearing, and we are trying very hard at this standing committee to do with the financial constraints, but there's a committees that can fly for the public hearing. It becomes worrisome. But that is not my journey. If there is a committee that is going to go and there is allocation of the budget to go and fly, then we can fly and we can go and do the public hearings there. Shumis?
Because through you.
Yeah.
The only clash after we've amended was the Saturday, which is a weekend. None of these other dates fall on a constituency period. It's during the week. And then the reason why there is 2 bills that we are going to be looking at. So if we collaborate with other committees, there's going to be a clash because we are proposing to start with the 1 bill from 5 o'clock up until about 6, 7 o'clock, and from 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock with the other bills. So we cannot work with another committee when we have 2 bills that we are looking at.
Thank you, Shamis. I think that another thing that I wanted to throw in to this committee is the challenge of we are going to start the 26th of May with the bills, and it's winter. Definitely from 5 o'clock, it already starts to be dark. And then we'll have the 2 processes the 2 bills that we have to start with this when we're done, then another one. So I don't know how can we make it work that we don't expect people to come and do submissions around from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock while it's dark and it's cold. It's possibility of that happening. It's really, to me, on a minus. I don't know how do the members feel. Member August?
Chairperson, thank you. I just want to correct, it's not environmental affairs, it's mobility standing committee. We're flying out Tuesday the 23rd and flying back Wednesday the 24th. My question is, can we not have the George public participation on the Wednesday then and come back on the Thursday? Other than having it the Saturday, we are in George. I think most of us are in George. If Shumis can just check, I think myself and Honorable Maran is there. I don't know if Honorable Murray is available. And then it's just basically yourself and Honorable Murray to come up, and then whoever needs to add on. But we are there. Can we not just extend that trip with the mobility, and then it's just 1 hotel extra than having to fly out, and it saves on the costs as well. So maybe they can just look at that. Then we don't need to have the public hearing on the Saturday. I'm not having a problem going up to George the Saturday the 27th, but we've been there the Tuesday. We might as well do the public hearing on the Wednesday and come back on the Thursday morning, Chairperson. Thank you.
Chair, I'm not part of mobility.
I know that. And me too. I don't think it's going to be possible, Honorable.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be. So here's the deal. The Member August, the issue of the bill of expropriation is we understand the issue of the budget constraints, but we are trying to maximize. Hence, when we're doing the plannings with Shumis, also playing around with the dates. When we didn't have a date that we can use, we took the Saturday because we don't want to like shortchange the contributions that people, we need to be clear that that will be possible. So from the mobility, it's you, and who's another one who is in mobility? I don't know who's another one, but you member August, then you disadvantage
me, Chair.
us. Okay, and you disadvantage us and say, in cutting the cost, we are not going to use the flights. We will use the Kumbi to travel to go to George. So for this, it's only the Kumbi of the parliament. There's no flights for the standing committee for the public hearing. So brace yourself to travel to go and do public hearings, which as a chairperson, I'm so proud of you to do that on behalf of our communities. Kayla, I saw your hand.
Chair, I was just indicating I'll be in George as well, as I'm an alternate and I'm going to be standing in there for transport and mobility.
Okay. Now you'll come back and get in the Kumbi and go back to George. Proud of you. Any other question? I don't see any hands. So members, that is what.
So Chairperson,
Yeah.
Chairperson, I'm not gonna fight you on this, not at all. I don't have a problem traveling back on the Wednesday and going back with the Kumbi on Saturday. It's just that now we are 3 members there already. The possibility of just you flying up, we are there. Can we not plan the public hearing then for the Wednesday evening? And then we fly back and then we do the over, because just saving on the cost. But if you push to us to move together on the Saturday, I don't have a problem. I'm just thinking that saving on cost and time. But it's just yourself and Honorable Maran that can fly up, which will then save that cost. And then we don't need to go to George. We are in George a few days prior to that. So what my question is it possible if the officials can then arrange, if you agree, to have the public hearing on the Wednesday, which is the 24th, we then fly back the Thursday morning, and then the Friday or whatever we do Overberg. If not possible, I will submit to the decision the standing committee rules on. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. We'll have a look at that, member, and check if that is doable. Member Kayla?
Chair, I just wanted to support the suggestion as well from member August. Thank you.
Yeah, we will check if it's doable. Member Mara?
Yeah, Chair, I also wanted to suggest that you investigate the possibility. I will accept whatever the outcome is. Thanks.
Okay.
Chairperson, through you, please.
Yeah.
According to the parliamentary program, if I can flight that, there is a house sitting on Thursday, the 25th of May.
Yes, that's true. Our first sitting will be on the 25th of May.
And the public hearing for mobility is on the 23rd. There is a parliamentary oversight committee happening on the Wednesday, the 24th. And then constitutional matters, so Premier and Health.
There it is, members. Member Sean, Member Kayla.
Yeah, Chairperson, thank you. Just to throw a spanner again, the first flight out of George, I think, is 7:30 or something in the morning, Thursday morning. So we'll be able to make it if the parliamentary sitting is still happening, which is normally at 2. But I agree with what the standing committee agrees on. If you feel that we should not do this and then drive back Saturday morning, we'll do so. But if the possibility is flying out the first flight, because with the mobility, we're flying in the Thursday and we're flying out the first flight the Wednesday. If you can just postpone the first flight till the Thursday, we can still make it for Parliament. But it's up to you, Chairperson, to decide on.
Okay, your suggestion is that the Thursday evening we do the public hearings, and then after that we fly back the Thursday morning.
That's correct, Chairperson.
Okay. Let's check. We will talk with Shumis. We'll see if we can try to do it that way. Is the 20? What date is it?
The
Okay, it's the 25th.
25th, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair, Johan here, Chair, can I speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually so the hearing will, I think the suggestion is then for the hearing to take place on the 24th
Yeah.
in the evening, and then to
Yeah.
fly back on the 25th on the first flight, which would be
Yeah.
about 7 o'clock. So if program authority gives us the go ahead, then I think it's
Yeah,
very
we will
doable.
do.
It's doable.
Yeah, that is why I didn't want to comment until we check with the programming authority. But it's usually whatever in programming authority is not cast on stone, so we can always try to see if we can twist their hands to allow us, especially if it's a legislation, to do that. So we will look at it and then we'll check with the chief whip and the programming authority. If they agree, then it will be in that order. Okay. Thank you very much, honorable members. So we agree that those are the public hearings, and then the first public hearing, that means it's not on the 26th of May, again changes. That means if there's an agreement, it will be on the 24th of May, not the 26th anymore. So for those who are going to California, please be mindful that you will be coming back on the 21st and the 22, you'll be leaving for George for public hearing, and you'll be gone until you come back on the 25th morning. Yeah. So you'll be travelers. You'll be travelers. Okay, that is all, honorable members. If you are in agreement and you give me and Shimis the blank check, we'll send you the communication of how are we going to go about between the two bills. Johan, I see your hand.
Hi, Chair. Yeah, sorry. And I want to throw a spanner in the works, but I just want to ask a quick question. Yeah, don't, Chair, sorry. My question is about, just for clarity, I like the idea that you've given earlier, especially to do the two bills together. But my question is that the expropriation bill is a different kind of bill that obviously affects everybody. You know, it's just a bill in its own category. But this bill, from what I've heard, and I'm not an expert, I don't want to use the word technical. It's not necessarily technical, but it's more specific to, I'd say, builders and municipalities, and let's call it industry specialists.
Yeah.
So my question after this long introduction is, are you planning, Chairperson, to have also 6 hearings at every single same place? Because in my mind, and I might be wrong, those industry specialists might either come to Cape Town, or they're the kind of people who have access to, let's say, data, and they can even join a virtual meeting like this. I don't see them necessarily coming to public hearings out in the sticks and different places. So, because if you advertise, then I suppose it won't be a problem, because you can have a lot of people if you do the expropriation bill first, and even if you advertise for, let's say, 2 hours later to have another bill, and if nobody comes, and they just don't come. So I don't know. Just don't mind me, Chair. It's Friday. I'm just gonna put off my mic.
I hear you, and I get you why you threw in that, but it is an issue of we do what we need to do. You'll be surprised that you might get that you get the submissions where you didn't think that you can get the submissions. But every town, it has the builders there. It has the stakeholders. That is why when I said to Mr. Wordendal that, with the housing consumer bill, it's specific. So the PO have to play a role in those different municipalities also to communicate with them, to tell them that we are coming for public hearing, and those specialists, like you say, they can come, or they will have the other options of their submissions. So either way, it will just be, we are there. whether they contribute electronically or they come, we will be there for them to do the submissions. And that will be a perfect way of doing it, that we don't leave anyone behind. We do what needs to be done. So that's my take on that. Members, your blank check for me and Shamis to plan accordingly. It will be there. We will give you the notes of how are we going to go about. Presently, we are busy with the officials to make sure that we maximize with the new, we are not doing it as we used to. We are doing it in a new format to check if it can pay dividends. I think that really simple checking with our standing committee. Don't tell them I said that, to see what they have, the innovative systems that they are trying to put in place for the public hearings. So it will work and it will be brilliant. So far, what I'm saying that it will be brilliant if we can do it that way for the way forward. So we'll continue in this system. Shumis, any other thing that we left?
Chairperson, in terms of media, we're going to be following the social media trend.
Okay, we are going to do that, but so for the print media, we are going to use the community printing media. Like I mentioned, what is it? Your Contre, your Westlander, there is this papers that are in the, remember Maran has got the paper, the local paper there in that community. It's not expensive as your Burger and your Cape Times, but it's direct in the communities. That's the papers that the communities out there, they read, not like they will go and pay for this other newspapers that are expensive. Remember, Maran, what is your newspaper that side?
Is it now in Brede Valley? Which area, Chair? Sorry, I've missed you for some.
In the
Standard.
There's the Worcester Standard.
Yeah. So those are the newspapers, Shumis, that I think the adverts have to go to, and we'll get also the side of the N2, the Garden Road, also the local newspapers that they use, and also the West Coast. Also, I know it has the local newspapers. Those are the ones that we can use. Other than that, the social media will be like around the metro. The social media can also work wonders, and maybe we can get the one plus one in the city that we can also do, or the one that has all the languages.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay. Mr. Odendal, is there anything that I left, or how are we going to move forward?
No, I just wanted to add that we always have the option to push for editorial in the local media, in the smaller towns, and providing them with information and so on. So if you go the editorial route, then you don't have to pay for it. So yes, and I think a combination of that plus the social media route will get good traction. So yes, yeah, we definitely gonna push for editorial in the smaller newspapers.
Okay. Advocate Maasdorp.
Chairperson, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have nothing to say. I'm quite intrigued by the spectacle of the colleagues trying to sort out the specificities of a campaign. But I've been listening eagerly to see if there's any legal question coming up. But clearly I'm redundant in this meeting and I don't mind on a Friday afternoon. Thank you.
No, you trust me, you are not redundant. You will see when you will be taking the podium to make sure you are still in the trenches, but we will be pulling you out very soon, I suspect. So for now, take the chill pill and wait. You'll be in very soon. Thank you very much. Members, I think that's all from me, and that's all that we are going to do. Now, just before I close the meeting, the worst case scenario, Mr. Odendal and Mr. Vermeulen, Ms. Jones and Mr. Mkunyan. The public hearings, and I mentioned this in the past, the public hearings of the expropriation bill, the period that National was doing the fifth parliament, you'll get about a line going on and on and on until midnight. Let's say we start 5 o'clock and we still have a long line that we have, people are trying to do the submissions. The first meeting or the first public hearing, and then we experience that. What are measures in place? How are we going to go about? Because we are now planning in the normal, very beautiful world of ours that will work that way. Now, if I throw in the worst case scenario, are we having measures in place to react to that?
Your chairperson. Oh, okay, Johan, you wanna go?
No, you can go first, Kai. It's fine. It's fine.
I think for us, Chairperson, from a mobilization perspective, when we talk to stakeholders, normally we present the two options and the scenario in public hearings that sometimes it might not be possible for all 30 people to speak. So it always helps to speak through a representative, coming from organizations. Maybe the other suggestion I would put forward, Chairperson, is if then that is the case, we could ask people either, to take down their names and contact details, and then they can follow up with a written submission. If they can't speak, or maybe the committee can have a limit and say they'll take so much, or in terms of time or individuals that are giving oral submissions. But for us, we do present the two options to stakeholders and say you can either, follow up with a written submission, or you can then be provided an opportunity to make an oral submission. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think what will work is, I was hoping that you from PO, you're saying that as you go out before us, you'll get an indication if we can have that scenario. So we are going to depend on you to make sure as you go out, you in a way pull the feelers to find out if that will be the case. And my suggestion, if the members agree with me, it will be, let's also try to do the recordings. We don't have to listen to one person. If we see we do have a long line, then we can do the recordings of the oral submission if it's allowed, that I don't have to stand in front of, but I can say my piece in being recorded with the name and everything. But that is going to need the direct, it's sort of a template to assist the people to say, they have to say their names, have to say where do they come from, and so that when you allocate a certain time for them to do that submission and you record, it is easier to when we compile them the matrix, or when we transfer it to be and it doesn't become difficult for Shumis to sort of get that in writing. Will that be in order for us to do? The members, do you agree that we can use that system when we are in the public hearings? I don't want to say my audible. Members, are you still with me?
Fine with me, Chair.
Okay. Will that be acceptable, Shumis or Johan?
Yes, Chairperson.
My procedural advisors.
I think Matthijs has made a link available, or will be making a link available on the website. And there will be a telephone, a cell phone number for WhatsApp that they can also leave their comments or oral submissions on.
Okay. Kaya? Mr. Mkunyan?
I'm covered, Chairperson, by
Okay,
the
because
responses. Yeah.
yeah, I was talking about when we are there, we get a long line. It's winter, it's during the dark. So is it possible that, is it allowed that we can get a recording? If we see there's a long line, rather than waiting and people are called, and is it allowed that we can do maybe on another site to do a recording that people can record? We can record them as they do their submission, and then use that system also in trying to squash the line, that they don't have to wait for such a long time for them to do a submission in front of us. Give the option to them, not forcing them to do that. I'm not talking about the WhatsApp per se that will be there. I mean, when we are there physically and then you get the line is long, to try to deal with it. Shumis?
Chairperson, we could also maybe then at the public hearing give them exam pads and pens. Then while
Yeah.
they're in the line, they can provide us with whatever they need.
Okay.
Can I
So
come in? Can
yeah,
I come in, Chair?
Yeah.
Chairperson, I just want to say that I understand what you're saying, and I understand that you're trying to plan, do the best planning that you can in case there's very long lines. But I'm just thinking as I'm going along here, Chairperson. Chairperson, we must also be careful and just maybe think about this. The reason that people come to a public hearing is because they want the committee itself to hear the voice. If you understand what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people will, but some people may be offended if you said to them, no, but write down your comment here, we'll make sure that it gets somewhere. They want their voice to be heard, especially as we've seen, because a couple of years ago, Chairperson, this bill was in front of one of our committees.
Yeah.
But this, you remember? Now, I went on some of those public hearings. I went to Caledon. Maybe you were there. I can't remember if you were part of that committee, but it was very emotional, Chairperson. And a lot of the things, and I know it sounds politically incorrect, but a lot of the things that were said wasn't helpful for the committee to take the bill forward because it's people's emotions now. So people are speaking emotionally. They want to just have their voice heard, and maybe they don't even speak correctly because they speak about they don't even have a house or something, and they don't always on target with what the bill says. So people want to have their voice heard. So I would say, Chairperson, out of all of this, if we see that the queues are very long, that maybe people must rather just make those small 5-minute contributions, and the mic keeps moving. Rather than those, let's say, big organizations who can come with a half an hour or 45-minute story, because those are the people who are well able to send us their written submissions. We can obviously not stop people, but I think we must try our best to get people's voices heard. But what we will get, Chairperson, is we've seen there's a specific group. They always send to all of these public hearings about 100 people, but they don't have anything different to say than each other. It's just one group that actually make use of these public hearings as their little get together, because now there's transport and everything. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration, and I know we don't know what we're going to get, but I just want to say as a reminder, Chairperson, as well, and me and Shamish will still discuss, we must make sure that the security that we get, that they know specifically when we notify the Sergeant at Arms, that they know specifically that we're dealing with this bill. It's an emotive bill. We could have a lot of people, so they must send enough security as well, and all those things must be in place. I'm not sure if it helps, Chairperson, but those are just my thoughts for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, it adds value. It adds value. But that being said, remember this option that we have here, it comes from you, Johan, and the team of WCPP. So
Hi, Boche. Hi, Bo.
So I'm just throwing it in there that also you have to plan, like, in the 5th Parliament, it was a very emotive, and I suspect we are going to get the same scenarios. So please plan ahead. Don't make the members to be miserable sitting there in the public hearing, because also our plans are not making sense to react to the demand. That being said, honorable members, I think that's its conclusion to the meeting. We've got the blank check. Me and Shamis will send you how are we going to go about. And Shamis, now when I do the closing, she's raising your hand. Shamis.
Sorry, Chairperson. No, because I just wanted to know whether we're going to resolve on the areas that we have indicated, or should we discuss further?
We are done.
Okay.
We agreed on those areas. We are not changing. The only thing that can change is the date of the 20. If Programming Authority agrees with us, that means it's not the 26th. No, it's not. I don't know which date is it.
But
it's not the
might be
27th. It will
24th.
be the 24th. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the only thing that might change. But everything else, the towns and everything, we
So
need
that
to be
is in
done with this
agreement.
planning. Yeah. We are done with the
Okay.
planning for these public
Great.
hearings.
So I'll
And
minute those areas.
yes, and also put the housing consumer also. So it will be those public hearings. PO, as a belief, the stakeholders for the housing consumer, we need to identify, and then we need to directly communicate so that they can do the submissions. That being said, colleagues, you are much appreciated. Thank you very much. And my colleagues that are fraying with me, let's have a very fantastic weekend. And it's a long weekend, so I hope you rest so that when you go to the public hearings, you will have to listen and have a pen and a paper to take notes of all that our communities are trying to communicate with us. As always, you are all appreciated, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic weekend.